Hello, welcome to my channel. My name is Finya, and today I want to talk about the greatest books of all time. And you may be asking yourself, what are the greatest books of all time and who's going to tell me what these are? And actually, I found a website that does exactly that. It is called thegreatestbooks.org. And basically what they do, they have this algorithm and then they look at hundreds of lists about the best books, and then they rank them, give each book like points, rank the different lists and stuff, and then their algorithm puts them all into this huge big list. I think with over 1,000 books in general, and they are ranked by how much the books come up in the list, how high up they are, and they have a whole page on their website where they explain how they treat all the lists that they use. For example, if a list only has books from the US on their list, then that gets minus points because obviously they're not looking at all of the books, they're looking only at the US. And yes, you can see that all on their rankings page. And today I want to look at the top 100 books, which are essentially the greatest 100 books of all time. And I want to look at how many books have I read on this list, which, spoiler alert, will not be a lot. Then also the ones I have read, how did I find them? Did I feel like it was justified for them to be, in the top 100 of all time? And then we're going to put all of the books I haven't read on my TBR. And hopefully in the next couple of years, I will read all of them and can say I've read, the greatest books of all time. And I kind of wanted to do that as a challenge for myself, to read old and hard books, to read classics, and to be a bit more educated on those books. And maybe we do a series out of that, reading the greatest books of all time. Comment that down below if you want to see that. And yes, let's look at the list. I am now at the 100th item on the list. So yeah, let's go up. I haven't actually looked. I know what is the first book because it's like the first thing you see on the website. But other than that, I don't know what is on that list. And also the list keeps on updating, if new lists arise. So yeah, let's start with place 100, and that is Oedipus the King by Sophocles. No idea how to say that in English, but yes, I know the play, and I know the gist of it. I think it's quite common knowledge, but yeah, I have not read that. Of course, I haven't read that. So the first book we will put on my TBR. You can just log into the website and then put them onto lists. I know nothing about this book, so I cannot tell you a lot about them. We're just gonna go through them and see what happens. The next one is Orlando by Virginia Woolf. Again, huge author, big one that I really haven't dabbled into that. I have The Waves by her. But yeah, Orlando, I think this might be one of her biggest, but if it's 99, then probably I'm forgetting books by her that will be higher up. Yes, I am guessing that she will come up a bit. A lot of people whose opinion I respect love Virginia Woolf, so yeah, I will probably at some point get into this, and yeah, that point will be rather sooner than later because I will put it on my TBR now. Then we have The Age of Innocence by Edith Wharton. I've not heard of the author and I haven't heard of the book at all. Apparently it's set in the 1870s. And it revolves around a young lawyer from New York. Then we have The Complete Tales and Poems of Edgar Allan Poe by Edgar Allan Poe. I mean, huge author, and I've read a couple of his poems, but not the entire thing. I don't really like reading poem collections or like short story collections like front to back. For me, it's more something that I have on my, my bedside table or in the living room, and now and then I read one poem or something. I liked the poems I have read from him, but I don't know too much about his work other than that. So yeah, let's keep going. 96, the first Dostoevsky book, and that is Demons. I have talked about this author before. It's a Russian author, like one of the Russian authors. Probably the big two are him and Tolstoy. And I have read a couple of things by Dostoevsky. Number one is Notes from Underground, The Gambler, and White Nights. Loved all of those. But just haven't really been brave enough to read his longer works. Don't know too much about the plot, other than it's about Russia. Like most of his books are like the society and the culture there, and yeah, he's quite critical and I love his thoughts and like being in his head, and I love his writing. So I'm really looking forward to this. Then we have From Whom the Bells Toll by Hemingway. I have not read this. I have read Hemingway books, but not this one. It's set in the Spanish Civil War. This is the only thing I also know about this. Then we have Emma by Jane Austen. Jane Austen, I've read Pride and Prejudice ages ago. I've read it in English, which is not my like native language. And I think that was part of it why I didn't fully enjoy it, because the language of course is pretty old and it's hard to read because of that. And I do think that if I would read Pride and Prejudice again, I would like it much more. Maybe in German this time. Yeah, I think I would actually be a person that would love Jane Austen. But at this point, having only read one of her works a long time ago, I'm not this type of person. So yeah, Emma, I will put it on the list. I would love to be a Jane Austen fan, to be honest. Then I have Waiting for Godot by Samuel Beckett. Heard of the author, not of the book. Oh, then we have Buddenbrooks by Thomas Mann. If you've seen my last video where I talk about my 2025 books, I've read my first Thomas Mann and I was not a huge fan. Let's just say that. I mean, a German author, quite the, popular, big German author. Buddenbrooks is obviously a big novel by him and probably very interesting, probably good, probably worthwhile reading it, but I'm not really looking forward. But we're gonna put it on the list anyway, because we want to expand our horizon here, okay? Then we have Faust by Johann Wolfgang von Goethe, another German author. And I was one of the lucky students in Germany who didn't have to read this. I know my brother did, and a lot of my friends who are a couple of years older than me had to read this for a German class. I didn't, luckily, because I really don't want to read this. It's a very large, long play, and there's nothing in me that is interested in this. So we put it on a list anyway, because I have to also, not only read American and English literature, but I also have to read German. So I don't feel guilty about it. Yay! Then we have The Man Without Qualities by Robert Musil. Apparently it's a novel set in Vienna. I have never heard of this, I'm sorry, but I will put it on the list. Then we have Little Women by Louisa May Alcott. I have not read this. Of course, I've watched movie adaptations of it, which I really liked, and so many people say that this is their favorite classic, and I do think that I would like it, so I am actually looking forward to reading this. Then we have The Tin Drum by Günter Grass. This sounds like he would be German. Oh yeah, so it's actually called Die Blechtrommel in German, and I have heard of this. I do know what it is. I have no clue what it's about, but I have heard of it. Okay, it's set in Nazi Germany, apparently, and there was a time after graduate school where I could not, consume any media that is set in this time, because as a German, I feel like 90% of history class in my 12 years of school was about the Second World War and the Nazis, and for good reason, of course, and there's still so much to learn and to unpack, and there's, so many stories set in this time that are probably great, but like a couple of years after school I couldn't do any of it. But nowadays it's different. Now it's fine. I was kind of traumatized by that topic because it's just so prominent in Germany. That is probably a good idea to read this, and yeah, I'm looking forward to it. Okay, we found the first book I've actually read on place number 87, Sidney Crosby, let's go. The Picture of Dorian Gray by Oscar Wilde, and I have read this. I loved it. It's a fantastic book. A lot of people put it like in the dark academia category, although it has nothing to do with like the tropes in dark academia. I feel like it's a fantastic novel. The writing in it is phenomenal. I loved it so much. It's pretty short, so everyone can read it pretty quickly, and I think everyone should as well, because the writing is just so beautiful. I have so many annotations in this, and I really like to revisit it, like take it off my shelf, flip through it, re-experience it, because it was, just so good. Okay, then we have The Good Soldier by Fort Maddox Fort. That is an interesting name. Then we have The Count of Monte Cristo by Alexandre Dumas. Sadly, I have to put it on my want to read because I'm currently reading it. I've started it with two friends of mine as like a buddy read, but I feel like all of us kind of stopped reading at like the same time, and I think I'm like maybe a third, no, not even a third, maybe a fourth into it. And I have learned only the things that you know from the blurb on the back. I really want to watch the New Wish movie adaptation, which my best friend absolutely loved. And because of that, he also started reading this book with me. And so, yeah, I really want to finish this book so I can watch that. And, you know, it was fun until I just stopped reading. So I really have to pick it up again. Then we have All Quiet on the Western Front by Erich Maria Remarque. And this is, again, Nazi Germany. Let's go. But the old movie adaptation is phenomenal. The newer movie adaptation from like 2023 or 24, I think, fantastic. Such a great depiction of war where it's not romanticized. I think that is really important in that genre. And yeah, such a good movie. But I've never read the book. So yeah, that is really high up on my list, I feel like, because that is probably really, really interesting. Then we have A Portrait of the Artist as a Young Man by James Joyce. James Joyce is such a prolific author and so many people love him, and he's such a classic. I feel like he has more books coming up on this list, and obviously I've heard about this book but I've never read it, sadly. Then we have As I Lay Dying by William Faulkner. Then we have The Plague by Albert Camus. I've read another novel of him and I only know this other novel, to be honest. French author of The Stranger, which I enjoyed. Not groundbreaking for me, but I enjoyed it. And it's apparently in the Algerian city of Oran during the 1940s. So again, Second World War time, man. It's a lot of books on here about the Second World War. Then we have Slaughterhouse 5 by Kurt Vonnegut. Where is that guy from? Okay, apparently the author is American, but he sounds so like Scandinavian. I thought he would be like Danish or Swedish or something. Then we have Pale Fire by Vladimir Nabokov, and that is a Russian author that I do know. I've read this one book by him. I think it was called First Love, and I read it because the booktuber Emmy recommended it, and I really liked it, and I really liked his writing. I do think that generally Russian fiction is something that I enjoy, because like every Russian book I've read, I've loved, and First Love was one of them. So yeah, Pale Fire, I will have that on my radar for the near future. Okay, then we have Voltaire, and a novel I cannot pronounce. Voltaire, man. I just know that his books, like, he lived a long time ago, meaning his novels are quite old, so never something I really was interested in reading, because it sure would be pretty hard, but you know, we love a good challenge, and this is what this is. So yeah. Moving on, we have on number 77, The Portrait of a Lady by Henry James. Henry James, yeah, I know him. Like, there's so many authors on him where I just know they are supposed to be fantastic and they're supposed to be so good and life-changing, and Henry James is one of them. But never in my life have I even thought about reading one of his books. So yeah, we'll put that on the list again. Okay, we're in the 70s and I've read one book so far, maybe one of the top 10. Then we have A Passage to India by E.M. Forster. Not read that. The Castle by Kafka, again a German author where I have only read one book for school and that's it. But I would love to read more Kafka. I think at the time when I read it, and it was like 14, 15, I did not enjoy it that much. But I think looking back, I would enjoy his writing now. So actually looking forward to reading Kafka. And on place 74 is actually The Metamorphosis, the book I've read by him. I kind of want to reread it, maybe not for the sake of this video, because, you know, we have enough books to read for this series. Maybe someday I actually will, because I do think that nowadays I would actually love analyzing the plot and, you know, all of the different things. Then we have A Farewell to Arms by Ernest Hemingway. I have indeed read this book. This is actually set in World War I, so not World War II this time, and it's about this American soldier and his love to a British nurse, and it is so beautiful. I think somewhere in the shelf I have a complete collection of his short stories and stuff. All of them are just so beautiful. I love his writing, and I hope there are some more Hemingway books in this that I haven't read, so that would be pretty nice, because I'm really looking forward to reading more Hemingway. Then we have Their Eyes Were Watching God by Zora Neale Hurston. I've never heard of this, but oh God, is the title beautiful. The Eyes Were Watching God. Magnificent. I want to read that immediately. Like, a good title and a good cover does that for me. Like, I can just look at something and I'm like, ah, this is so pretty, and then I want to read it. And this is also kind of a curse, because if a cover or a title is ugly, I will not want to read it. It doesn't matter how good it is or how many people say it's fantastic, I'll not read it. So yeah, The Eyes Were Watching God, man, that is fantastic. Then we have The Scarlet Letter by Nathaniel Hawthorne. I have obviously heard of this book, but I've never read it. I'm sorry. I do think it's quite short, isn't it? Then we have Hamlet by William Shakespeare. I have to put it on the I want to read list, but I'm actually reading that right now. And by right now, I'm actually reading this currently. I read some of it yesterday, but I do take my sweet time with it because I read all of the Shakespeare plays in English. And, you know, English is hard enough, but 400 years old English is even harder, and Shakespeare English as well. So yeah, I try after every scene to really understand it, understand the plot, and, you know, look up analysis of, you know, the different things happening and going on. And it's so much fun. I love doing that. And so yeah, I'm taking my time, but I'm really enjoying it right now. And William Shakespeare is just, man, he deserves all the recognition he got. Robinson Crusoe by Daniel Defoe. I have never heard of this book. I've heard of the author because I always think about Willem Dafoe, but yeah, I had no clue. But what is this subtitle though? Why is that so big? Why is it so long? Then we have Midnight's Children by Salman Rushdie. This man, I don't want to even pronounce it, but you know, this guy. No clue. I don't know. Then we have Leaves of Grass by Walt Whitman. Okay, this is a poetry collection and I've read parts of it, which were really pretty. But of course I haven't read the entire thing yet, but I really, really want to read it. So yeah. Then we have the Aeneid. I mean, one of the Greek mythology writings, and I love Greek mythology, so I'm really excited for this actually. This will be so hard and probably disappointing because I'm expecting like the Song of Achilles style writing, which will not be getting from this one. But yeah, I just love Greek mythology. Then we have Rebecca by Daphne du Maurier. Heard of this, haven't read this. Then we have Gulliver's Travels by Jonathan Swift. Nope. Things Fall Apart by, again, this person, I don't know where that person is from, so I haven't even got a clue how to pronounce this. And I've heard of the title, but not of the author, so yeah. Then we have The Golden Notebook by Doris May Lessing. The Sun Also Rises by Ernest Hemingway. I do think I have it at home here, somewhere in German. I haven't read it yet, though. Then we have The Leopard. I have heard of it, I have heard of this name, but I haven't read it yet. Then we have Dracula by Bram Stoker. I do own a copy of Dracula, but I haven't read it yet. I remember that somewhere in October a couple of years ago, I bought Frankenstein and Dracula and wanted to read both of these in like the, you know, the spooky time, but I ended up only reading Frankenstein, and then it was like November and I was getting into Christmas and I was kind of not up for that. So yeah, it's still lying around, and but yeah, I'm really excited for this though. Then we have Under the Volcano by Malcolm Lowry. Haven't read that. Then we have The Idiot by Dostoevsky. Again, a long book that I have not read. And we have The Life and Opinions of Tristram Shandy by Lawrence Stern. I have never in my life encountered this book, but that will change. Then we have Animal Farm by George Orwell, and I have actually read this, and I love this. This is one of my favorite classics, and I do think it's a perfect way of getting into classics because it's just so short and so easy to understand, and to like the writing is also really easy. So if anyone wants to dabble into classics and doesn't know where to begin, then Animal Farm is a fantastic choice. And of course 1984 by George Orwell as well, but yes, I really liked it. I think it's on par with 1984 in my opinion, at least. Then we have Gone with the Wind by Margaret Mitchell. No, I have not read this. And actually, I have not watched the movie also, so I have to do both. Then we have Beloved by Toni Morrison. I mean, Jack Edwards loves this woman, and I feel like she is probably everything, you know, they tell you about her, and probably phenomenal. And yeah, but I've never read any of her stories. I don't even own a copy, I think. Then we have The Old Man and the Sea by Ernest Hemingway. This one I have read because it's my mother's favorite book, and I really liked it. I don't think it's my favorite book, not even close, but I really liked it. And yeah, Hemingway is just phenomenal. Then we have David Copperfield by Charles Dickens, and I have not read this book, and I don't even know if I want to. I have Demon Copperhead somewhere here, but I always thought I would read David Copperfield before that to, you know, have some understanding of it and of this story. But yeah, the one Charles Dickens book I've read, which is A Tale of Two Cities. I love the ending. I still think about Sidney Carton to this day, but the first 80% were so slow and so tough to get through, and I'm just not really vibing with his writing. Yeah, not too excited about this one. Then we have Lord of the Flies by William Golding, an absolute classic, which again, I haven't read. Now we have Brave New World by Aldous Huxley. I actually have read this one. You know, I love a good dystopian story. Then we have Journey to the End of the Night by Louis Ferdinand Céline. Is he French? Maybe, I don't know. I have not heard of this, to be honest. Then we have 1001 Nights by Unknown. Of course I know the story, but yeah, I have not read it yet. And I also never been really interested in reading it. Then we have fictions. Nope. The Little Prince. The Little Prince, in my opinion, is like the one book that everyone must read. This is one of the most wholesome and lovable books of all time, and I think it has something in it for literally everyone. It's so short, you can read it in under an hour, and it gives you so much. And really, it's an adult book that is disguised as a children's book, but it's really, really for adults. So if you kind of, you know, put off by the fact that it's kind of a children's book, then don't be, because it's for you. Like, you watching right now, this book is for you. Yes, this is the book I know by William Faulkner, and no, I've not read it, of course. Then we have On the Road. Heard about it, haven't read it. We have Frankenstein by Mary Shelley. Like I said, I've read this one. This is one of my favorite classics of all time, and I loved it. And it's such a good work, and it dabbles into so many different topics, and it's so interesting what she kind of has to say about those things. And I do think nowadays, with all the technology we have, like AI and such, it's more relevant than ever. Then we have The Red and the Black. Nope. Great Expectations, Charles Dickens. No. We have Les Miserables by Victor Hugo. This is probably really fun to read, I have to admit, but I haven't read it yet, but I am excited to read it. Then we have The Iliad by Homer, and no, I have not read this, but again, Greek mythology, I would probably love this, or I would, you know, love to have read it and to kind of get the original story. Then we have Invisible Man by Ralph Ellison. Nope. Catch-22. Nope. The Master and the Margarita by Bulgakov, again, a Russian author that I probably would enjoy, but I haven't read it. No. Then we have Mrs. Dalloway by Virginia Woolf. Prediction correct. Virginia Woolf is on this list a couple of times probably. Oh, Alice's Adventures in Wonderland is on this list. That is kind of, okay, interesting. No, I have not read it yet. Then we have Heart of Darkness by Joseph Conrad. I have never heard of this. Then we have Middlemarch by George Eliot. Nope. Then we have Jane Eyre by Charlotte Bronte. To the Lighthouse, Virginia Woolf. I think this is probably her most popular book. Then we have The Magic Mountain by Thomas Mann. No, I'm really not interested to read any more books by this man. So yeah, we will see if I will actually, you know, get through this one. Then we have The Divine Comedy by Dante, and actually I have started this book already. I'm in Canto 11, I think, of Inferno. Really, it's fantastic. Like, I'm learning so much in this, and it's so comprehensive, and there's so many real people from across time in this, like mythological people that are not real, but like real people who existed at the same time as Dante, who he knew, but they're also like philosophers before him that he admired, and there's so many different characters. And it's so interesting to read interpretations of the different cantos and to read analysis of it, and yeah, it's a lot of fun, but obviously it takes a lot of work, and it will also probably take me some time to finish this one. Then we have The Grapes of Wrath by John Steinbeck. I really want to read John Steinbeck. This is probably not the first one I would read of him, maybe the other one will come up, but yeah, I do think that I would love his writing. Like everything, all the snippets I've read from him are really good. Then we have The Odyssey by Homer. Nope, but I'm really looking forward to reading this one. I even thought about reading The Odyssey at the beginning of this year to then watch the new Christopher Nolan Odyssey movie, but I don't think that I will get around to that, to be honest, but that would be pretty cool. And would take months to complete, so maybe not, I don't know. Then we have The Adventures of Huckleberry Finn by Mark Twain. No, I have not read this actually. Then we have The Stranger by Albert Camus, and this one I have read last year or the one before, I'm not quite sure. I liked it, but not as much as saying this is the 22nd most great book of all time, to be honest. Then we have Madame Bovary by Gustave Flaubert. French maybe, I don't know. I have heard of it, but I haven't read it. Then we have The Trial by Franz Kafka. This is actually probably the book that I would want to read next by Kafka, because I love a good trial scene and movie or book. I love a good trial. I don't know why, but it really gets me. And so yeah, I really would enjoy this probably. Then we have The Brothers Karamazov by Dostoevsky. Again, a long book by him that I am really looking forward to. But I don't think that would be the next one that I'm gonna read. No, not the Bible, oh my god. I really have to read the Bible for the series if I'm actually gonna finish it. The thing is, religion plays no role in my life whatsoever. It's quite interesting. I've never been to the US, but what I know from the US is that, you know, Christianity is a huge part of so many families there, and much more people there grow up religious. But in my case, I have never prayed. I've never been to church. Okay, next up is To Kill a Mockingbird by Harper Lee. I have obviously heard of this book, but I have not read it. Oh, sorry. We'll add it to the list. Then we have The Lord of the Rings by J.R.R. Tolkien. And I actually have read these because, of course, I'm a fantasy nerd. I love the movies. I've watched the extended editions of those films too many times. Not such a big fan of the books. I don't really enjoy the super slow-paced writing that much. I mean, of course, they're fantastic and groundbreaking, you know, in that genre, but I wouldn't reread them. Then we have Wuthering Heights by Emily Bronte, with the Margot Robbie, Jacob Elordi movie coming out, which is, from what I've heard, very far removed from the story. But what I know about this book, I will probably adore this one. So this will be high up on my list in the near future. I think I really, really enjoy this. Then we have Lolita by Vladimir Nabokov. I've not read this. This I'm also really excited about, because from what I heard, it's kind of weird reading it, because you're inside of this man, this like pedophilic man, and it's supposed to be very, very interesting though, and super unique. And as I said, I love Russian literature and I really want to read this. And then we have War and Peace by Leo Tolstoy. This is probably an undertaking of months, but it's probably worth it. I think my mom or my brother has read it. I actually think both of them kind of read one Tolstoy each at the same time. So one of them read Anna Karenina and the other One Piece, which took them a long time. But yeah, I'm interested in both, but I do think it will be very hard to read, and yeah, but very interesting and very insightful and educating. Then we have Pride and Prejudice. This is the one I have read, yes. Then we have Crime and Punishment by Dostoevsky. This is the one I actually have a copy of, and this is the next Dostoevsky I want to read. I think it's his most popular work. I think this is something I really would enjoy, and I'm really, really looking forward to this one. Then we have, there it is, Anna Karenina. I don't know which, I think I will read One Piece first. Or I have heard that Anna Karenina is a bit more accessible, although it also has like 1,000 different characters. Yeah, I'm not sure what I want to read by him first. Maybe I just read the first 20 pages of each and see which catches me more. I don't know. Then we have another William Faulkner that I know of, The Sound and the Fury. I have not read this. Then we have on number 8, Don Quixote, also such a huge and old novel, which I think it will probably be a journey of reading it. This is the type of book I'm really excited for, because this is like similar to the Divine Comedy. Like everyone knows this, that this exists, but like barely anyone has actually read it, you know, and I really want to be one of the people who's actually read it. And I recently watched a TV show called The Newsroom, which is such a gem. It's literally one of the best TV shows I've ever watched, and it only has 3 seasons, but it's so good. And this book, Don Quixote, is referenced so many times, like across the whole series, and it really makes me want to read this book. You know, those little references just really, really get me. Watch The Newsroom, it's phenomenal. Then we have Moby Dick by Herman Melville. I actually have a copy of this somewhere, no clue where. I think it's over there. Such a beautiful edition. I think I bought this in like 11th grade or like 12th, I don't know, when my class was in London and we were at a museum, and I bought this beautiful, beautiful edition of Moby Dick. And it's one of the prettiest books I own, and yeah, but I heard it's very, very, you know, long and hard to read and kind of draining at some times, but obviously I will and want to read this. Then we have 1984 by George Orwell. Also one of my favorite classics. I have read this, and I've read this twice, I feel like now, and it is just so good. It's really one of the best works I've ever read. Similar to 100 Years of Solitude by Gabriel Garcia Marquez. This is extraordinary. I've never read a book like this one. It is so whimsical, it's magical. I mean, it's magical realism as a genre, and just the first sentence is so wonderful, and it opens up so many questions as to like, what is this town and what are those people living in it? And there's so many whimsical things happening in this book, but it's so unique, and I loved every second of it. And it's still like the only book I've read by Marquez, and I really want to change that. But it's like similar to Fredrik Backman, which is an author I love, where I kind of hesitate to read more books because I want to keep as many of them unread, so I always know I have something to look forward to. But yeah, wonderful book, and it deserves the top 5. Then we have The Catch in the Rye by J.D. Salinger, and of course I have not read this, but of course I know it. But yeah, it's supposed to be really good. Such an American classic, you know, and maybe it's deserved, but I don't know, I haven't read it yet. Then we have The Great Gatsby by F. Scott Fitzgerald, and this I have read, and this I don't really understand it being so high on so many lists. Here we have place 3. I liked it, but is it a top 3 book of all time? I really don't know. Maybe I didn't get it in the way other people get it. Maybe it's just not for me, but I feel like it was a good book, but not in the way it was like breathtaking. Maybe it's the time, maybe I just don't, like from a perspective of 2026, you know, cannot maybe sense what he did there at the time, but no idea. Then we have In Search of Lost Time. This is actually a book where I'm like, I know of its existence, but I didn't know that it was, you know, praised so highly like it is on this list. I mean, it's the top 2 book of all time. I know of it, and I know it's incredibly long. Apparently it has over 4,000 pages. So just reading this will take months and months. I actually don't even know what it's about, and I will not read it right now. But yeah, In Search of Lost Time. And then we have place number 1, and this is Ulysses by James Joyce. As I predicted, James Joyce will be high up on this list, and he is the number 1. I know it's like about this main character and like one day in his life, and it is like loosely inspired by Homer's Odyssey. So probably I will read the Odyssey first before reading this one. I don't know how long this is actually. Around 1,000 pages, so, you know, a short book. So, and that, you know, concludes the entire list of, not the entire, but the top 100 greatest books of all time. And then, if I'm not mistaken, you can go into here, and there you have your lists. I have 68 books now on my books I want to read. Did I really read 14 books on this list? Wow, that's great, I guess. So yeah, this is my TBR for the rest of my life, probably. I don't know when I will ever be able to finish this, but I really want to start a series of reading them all and kind of, you know, educating myself and reading all of those probably fantastic books. So yeah, thank you so much for watching. Please comment down below if you would want to watch a series where I, you know, start reading them all. And I hope you enjoyed this video, and we'll see each other in the next one. Bye!